All right. All right. Seems all good. Very good. All right. So now it's the sound. 7th June 2018, Thursday, 2:05 in the day. You know what? People will be thinking that I'm actually skipping work,
Yes.
but I'm not. People, I'm just waiting for further orders because today will be a short, sort of a awkward day. Will be in a full day event till I don't know, probably midnight, away from Riga. So I'm just. That's why I told you about these few hours in between, because that's the period where I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
And then I'll meet up and we drive off.
Perfect timing then.
Yeah. So first things first. What brings you to Latvia?
So I've been traveling the world more or less since December 1st of 2016, and been
Sounds quite long.
a long time. Yeah, again, almost it's going to be 2 years very soon. And my goal is just to hit as many countries as I can. And originally, I was going to finish traveling in January. I got sponsored to travel the world for 412 days.
Damn.
Went home and saw my family, saw my friends. But my Africa leg of that journey, I met two amazing Australians, and they convinced me to keep traveling with them. So they met me in Texas, and we went south all through Central America down to Colombia. And while I was there, I was just for fun. I'm a huge sports fan. I looked at tickets to the World Cup and was lucky enough to get one for face value. And so for U.S. citizens, China and Russia are the toughest visas for us to get.
2018 World Cup, right?
Coming up in a couple weeks, not even like what, a week? Yeah, 1 week it starts. And I realized that it's now or never. I'm getting to Russia. This is the easiest way for me to get into the country. So booked a flight, and this was the cheapest way to get there. So this was a country I've never been to, and Riga has always sounded amazing. So here we are.
So it sounds like you are on your way to the World Cup in Russia,
Yes.
and then the flight was just to Riga.
My plan. So last summer I was in Europe. So I did every continent except for Antarctica since December of 2016.
Why did you skip Antarctica?
Very expensive to get to. Tough, unless you want to shell
all
out.
those excuses, man.
I know. I will get there eventually.
Alright.
But last summer I did Western Europe and just ran out of time. I did 20 countries there, and since I was coming to Russia, I figured why not do all of Eastern Europe and the Balkans, and it's going to work out. So that's my plan through mid-September. Is I will hit every country except for Belarus. Belarus, they are sticklers on their visa.
How come?
Well, you can get one if you fly in, and I didn't feel like spending that much money on a flight to get there, and they wouldn't let me fly there from Russia. They're very strict about that.
Interesting.
And I could have done the transit visa, but I wasn't in the U.S. long enough since I flew through New York to get to here. I had to it was 6 days, and I was only there for 3 days. So I couldn't get the visa. So
What's the
Belarus
point?
will be the one country that I will skip in Eastern Europe.
What's the point with the particular amount of days?
Just timing for them to process the paperwork and get me the transit visa, because they'll need to they have to keep my passport, and so I wouldn't have been able to leave the country.
Wouldn't you be able to just come to the airport and then get all the papers?
You could if you fly into Belarus from anywhere else anywhere in Europe. But if you fly, my plan was to fly from Moscow into Belarus, and the cost
expensive?
of it didn't make sense.
What about bus?
Bus would be the transit visa, and that I just didn't have enough time in my home country to get that transit visa. Well, and what's disappointing, and I was going to bank on this, and I just read an article about it today, it still sounds very iffy, was Russia and Belarus were supposed to have an agreement to make it visa-free for both countries to get through for the World Cup.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to announce it June 2nd. It's still very wishy-washy on if it's allowed or not. And what concerned me was so Russia is giving out free train tickets if you have World Cup tickets.
Really?
Which is amazing. That's huge.
You mean everywhere in Russia you could travel for free?
Just the host cities, yes. But I think there's 8 or 9 host cities, so that you can save a significant amount of money if you purchase a ticket. But you're still buying a FIFA ticket, which aren't the cheapest in the world, right? So it's an added bonus.
How much do they cost?
Anywhere between, if you get the lowest category that aren't sold to Russian citizens, they're 105 US, which is
Decent.
right. I mean, that's a little bit more than a Premier League.
But not for an important game, right? It's just
No, that's any game.
just a
If you
regular
got
game.
them face value, that's any game except for the opener and the finals.
Wait, what?
I'm going to the opening match, and I got the cheapest level I could, and that was, I think it was 265 US. So it's Russia versus Saudi Arabia, June 14th. I'm so
Russia
excited.
versus Saudi Arabia.
Not going to be much of a match, but
How did Saudi Arabia get in?
yeah,
They just probably bought their way in.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a I don't know. That's a match for you to behold how Russians just kick Saudi Arabians.
Hopefully, both teams. We'll see if they make it out of group play, but I'm just excited for it to be home field advantage for Russia and just see the energy. So I was very lucky to be at the Rio Olympics, and that's how all this started. Went to the Olympics. Long story short, took selfies with athletes. They went viral. I became known as the Selfie King of Rio. Got sponsored there, and ended up going.
Selfie King of Rio.
Yes, it's crazy.
I hope you didn't make up that nickname.
No, that was given to me. That was given to me by Good Morning America.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so one of the events I went to was the gold medal match between Brazil and Germany in soccer or football.
Was that the one where Germany quite badly?
That
beat
was
them?
last World Cup. So that was 2 years before. And so everyone talks about, Olympic football, Olympic soccer is not as big as the World Cup, but it was Brazil's chance to get a little bit of redemption after being embarrassed so bad. And
what was the result there?
they won. They won in penalty kicks. Neymar
really?
finished it. They won by one. Amazing. So the energy there, when it's home field advantage, as a sports fan, there's nothing like it. So I'm hoping the Russians are the same. We'll find out here in a week.
I would imagine the Russians will be just many times more drunk than the Brazilians could possibly be.
Yeah.
What's the beverage of choice in Brazil?
Brazil, it's caipirinhas. So it's
Like a cocktail?
yes. So it's lime, sugar, and cachaça. I think is how you say it. It's a sugarcane liquor.
No.
Very, very nice drink. Brazilians know how to party, and I'm excited to see.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
We'll see. Russians with their vodka, we'll see how much crazier it is.
Brazilians probably know how to party in an almost sensual way because they have those carnivals, they have those dances.
Consistently.
That's just the party culture over there, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, Russians, get prepared for white people.
Yes.
Right, I would guess so. That's about it. It's sort of interesting because after Sochi Olympics, no real major sports events was in Russia. Right?
Yeah, nothing huge.
And after Sochi, was it Sochi where they discovered that they had those doping people?
Yes. Well, and they just found out. So that was the biggest doping scandal for Russia.
Yeah.
And so Russian athletes were not allowed to compete this past year under the Russian name. And what's even crazier is you think you would learn right from your mistakes. Of all sports, one of the Russian athletes from Russia, not playing truly for Russia, was a curling athlete. Now curling, right? It's just throwing weight. I mean, there's skill to it, right? But it's throwing weight down a sheet of ice. And the guy got caught doping. It's like, come on, man. Your whole team, you guys couldn't compete for your country because of exactly what you did, and you decided to do it again in the Olympics. It's just, it's too bad. It's too bad because it's a way to really just put an asterisk by the stats, and it's unfair for the athletes that truly train without the performance-enhancing drugs. So
I just hope that actually everybody does it, and
make it fair, right?
It's just that the Russians get caught.
That is a point. Yeah,
That
exactly.
will be, all right. I get it. Because I think for your match, Russia, Saudi Arabia, it seems pretty straightforward. Russia will beat them, and then everybody will go crazy. You'll see lots of BMWs on the streets just honking, right? Yeah, all those sorts of things. But what is the total plan after the World Cup? Do you continue for 2 years to travel?
Probably not. So after that initial match, I have tickets to 3 matches. So I'll be in Russia for 16 days between St. Petersburg, Moscow, and then Kaliningrad. So then from there, I'll head just basically south, hit all the countries in Eastern Europe, jumping back and forth all the way down to Greece, and then basically making a U shape down to Greece, back up through Slovakia, and then from there, the plan is to head back to Asia. I missed just a decent amount of countries there, but I'll probably hit 5 more before getting back to my family. I've missed the last 2 Christmases, and I've promised my mom I will not miss this Christmas. So I will for sure be back in the United States come December 25th.
And before that, you will be traveling.
Yes.
Basically 6 months.
Another 6 months, more or less.
Damn.
Yes.
And after Christmas again?
We'll see. Probably not. I want to write a book just over about the experiences that I've had. I mean, the journey I've been on, the reason it started is truly unbelievable. I mean, literally, it's unbelievable.
The reason?
Yes, it all started because of the selfies at the Olympics. And I went to Rio just for fun. And because I took photos, selfies with athletes, this has led to my journey to travel the world. So never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine this happening. But, it's just, I want the story to be told and told right just because it'll blow your mind, the full story. So that's the plan. And
sounds to me that the two Australians are to blame.
This second half, this round 2 of traveling the world. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So would you say that you would actually like to go not just to particular countries, but also just to see different cultures?
Exactly. For me, I think it's really important to see the other cultures, but I love meeting people, and traveling not only gets you out of your comfort zone, but it allows you to learn what other parts of the world are like. Before this trip, before I started traveling, I'd followed the news, right? I was in business, so it's very important to have that global aspect. But now these cities and countries I see in the news, it's just not a name. It's not just a place on a map. It's a place I've had life-changing experiences and had friends in all these cities. So when I hear different, so for example, in Guatemala just had a massive volcano.
Help me a bit. I'm picturing a map.
Yes.
Guatemala.
Central America.
All right.
So smack dab in between North and South America.
All right.
And 2 months ago, I was hiking a volcano called Acatenango, which is right next to Fuego. Fuego is one of the most active.
Wait a second, isn't Fuego just like hot?
Yeah, right. That's the word. Right, fire. Exactly. So in Spanish, Fuego, yes.
Yeah, all right.
And so it erupts every 10 to 15 minutes. It's an amazing hike to do. Well, last week, not even last week, I think it was 3 days ago, Fuego exploded, had a massive eruption bigger than it's ever done before. It's killed 75 plus people. So immediately when I heard that news, I was texting my buddies in Guatemala City to make sure they were okay.
Did you, when you went there, right, did you meet some locals and did you ask them, you guys, have you ever thought that this could erupt too much and why are you still here, dude?
Exactly.
Right?
Well,
move away.
You would think so, right? Because if you're living next to a volcano, you would expect the worst, right? I mean, Pompeii is a prime example. Pompeii back then, right? I mean,
sure.
So let's not have that repeat. And unfortunately, what they said is the scientists always keep track of it, right? The scientists are analyzing the data. There's another volcano in Nicaragua called the Cerro Negro, which is supposed to erupt every 20 years. Well, it's been 19 years since this last eruption. So, scientists know relatively when it's going to happen, but when you live next to a volcano, you're taking massive risks because you just never, ever know. You
know what a shame is? It used to be, there was a site called Red Pill TV. And I remember it had lots and lots of documentaries, right? And one of the most interesting I thought was, I think it was called 180 Days or something like that. And they somehow managed to pinpoint different big cataclysms like hurricanes and earthquakes. And basically the basic premise was this: every 180 days you'll see either because of the tectonic shifts or whatever, you see the major catastrophes playing all, and they basically showed, look, here's I don't know, let's say July 1st, whatever, this happens. Then 180 days before that, this happens, and they went I don't know how many years back, and I just thought,
clockwork,
almost and I thought, what? If that's so easy, then just go ahead, right?
Right.
But that's the only thing I remember about that documentary, because it was so interesting because they really took the real footages of those catastrophes and said this happened on that date, right? Almost around 180 days before that.
That's wild.
This happened, right? And so all right, because the basic idea was that you can also actually predict those tectonic plates moving and something else, and then you just basically see it playing out somewhere in the world, right? I thought it was quite interesting, but I wanted at one point to see it again, but the site just closed.
Ah, shoot, yeah.
But it had I don't know how many hundreds of documentaries about, real quality documentaries, not some silly BBC.
Right. Well, hopefully Netflix somehow contact them and get those on those, because that'd be fascinating.
Yeah,
to see.
because they
Absolutely.
made lots of, and I didn't see them on YouTube or anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was a specific site. I don't know when they closed, but I think if we look at it now, it might just say that we will be back sometime. Oh no, nothing at all.
Name is just been so someone did register it, though. That's a good sign.
Well,
Unless they're trying to-
that time it was just we are making some modifications or whatever in a sense that come back shortly, right?
Yeah.
Now it's
Totally gone.
Yeah.
Too bad.
yeah.
Too
Well,
bad.
whatever. So what are you saying then? Basically, you will write a book about your travels since Rio, or also
Yes.
before
So
Rio?
most likely include Rio,
Hmm.
and then just my adventures around the world, just the people I've met, and the journeys I've had. So.
You might have also a blog, right?
Yes, so my blog is more or less my Instagram. Well, I was also doing a vlog. I got sponsored to do this trip around the world. I partnered up with this company called Inspire More, where I went live on their Facebook page once a week all over the world. So that was a fun way to bring the world to a lot of people, over 3 million followers, to just the world in their pocket. And what I really loved about that was not only did it show what the actual world, that part of the world is like, because in the U.S. our media does a very good job at making the world look like a very dangerous place.
Because
But-
it is compared to America. It
It,
might be.
depending on where you go. But what I tell everybody is it's just every city, no matter where you are, there is a bad part of town, right? Whether in the United States, you're somewhere, even in the Middle East, right? It's not all bad though. It's just certain parts of the city where you don't go to that part unless you're looking for trouble, right? I mean, with the one-offs, sure, there's a small crime here and there that happen.
Actually, funny enough, I think in some places and in some instances, America might be even more dangerous than the rest of the world, right?
Exactly. That is a point that some could argue.
Because people are getting drugged up in America.
Drugged up. The gun violence is a very serious thing. So
And I
that's
guess
true. And so
I guess the access to guns is also easy.
Oh, very.
I'm not sure how your system works, right? But
Yeah.
if I would want a gun, I would have to have, I think, a safe at my home, right? Then I would need to apply to be somewhere checked.
hmm
And I think the police comes every once in a while to just check
That's
on you.
for here.
I think so.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Well, in the sense that it's not easy to just have a gun, right? It comes with a total bureaucratic process attached to it.
Right.
So yeah, when I heard that basically in America you have more guns than people, so I'm like, that sounds interesting. Because the only place I would guess that's the same would be Switzerland,
Right.
right? But Switzerland, it might have just some nice form of bureaucracy that just works effectively and get all the guns in the right places, I guess.
Well, the difference with Switzerland is so almost everyone serves in the military there,
Yeah.
right? And they're allowed to have their weapons in their home. They just aren't allowed to have the ammunition with the gun. So they store their ammunition in different areas
Just
in the
nearby.
city. So it's close if they ever need it, but it is not kept in their home, and that's one of the reasons why they don't have as much gun violence.
Yeah, it seems to go like a good militia strategy.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
You just have the ammunition somewhere centralized.
If
and
you
everybody
need
comes
someone
to their gun.
attacking you, you're ready to go.
Yeah, I guess that's the specific attitude from Switzerland and maybe even Austria,
hmm
to have that sort of distribution system that everybody needs to be protected, everybody needs to be able to fight if needed, but let's just do it. It's not too easy to get over their heads,
hmm
right? So what would you think actually? Now you've been. Do you count how many countries you've visited?
This is a big country. This is number 75.
75.
It's my 75th country. Yeah.
So does it mean 75 besides America, right?
Yes.
So
Well, I guess well, I got to double check.
Because technically USA would be 50 countries, right? way.
Well,
In
depends.
a
So what you guys call countries, we call states. It's
Well,
yeah,
I mean, California would be probably different than New York
true.
culturally.
Very much so.
socially.
East Coast, West Coast, very
politically,
different.
maybe?
Yes. So in the United States, I've been to 44 of the 50 states. So I do count my country just because I've seen so much of it. But yeah, it's an amazing. I love my country so much, and I highly encourage everybody to come visit. And that's the thing is, like
Is
you
it
said,
easy to come visit?
de-
America is a bit strict.
depending on where you're from, it depends on how much paperwork you have to do.
Latvia had at one point in time even a visa system for America.
Mhm.
Then they actually took that off, but they still don't allow to come everybody. It's just still, it's almost like the same process, but
Mhm.
you just don't call it a visa anymore.
Right,
In a
and I
way.
think it costs $10. Yeah, because
I'm
my
not sure.
my Australian friends just got it, and it last. I think theirs is
Wait a second, if you mean
Six-
from Australia to America, it would be probably easier.
a little bit easier. So it just
Should
depends.
be.
But you guys, since you guys are part of the EU, I would imagine it's a little bit easier, hopefully, to get in than
I
other
guess
parts of Europe.
more theoretically than practically.
Right. True.
I guess so.
True.
I guess
Yeah.
so.
I honestly, I need to research a lot. Luck. I mean, for me, I haven't really had to. I was born there, right? So my blue passport gets me in quite easily. But yeah, visa wise, I know it's more difficult for some countries to get in, and some countries are even banned. Just like we're not supposed to go to
Oh,
some.
actually,
But,
speaking about restricted countries,
Yeah.
did you go also to Syria, for instance, or all those
right.
dangerous
So
places?
technically, as a U.S. citizen, you're not supposed to go.
What? Why?
It's just
But you
there's
are the
travel
selfie king, man.
I know.
Come
No,
on.
I know. I got as close
We
as
are
I
in the
could
Syria.
legally. So I got
Wait a second. Would it be illegal for
like
you to go?
I got to double check. For some reason, when I was reading laws on which countries to go to,
Yeah.
whether it was so that like they have this system where they rank safety of countries, right?
All right.
And Syria was like the red, don't go. Like I think
Fake
Syria,
news.
Afghanistan,
Fake news.
just you can't go, can't
Oh,
go.
really?
I'm pretty sure, and if they find out you go, there's potential of getting in trouble. But when I was
they don't want you to see what's really happening there.
maybe
Everybody's just dancing around.
right, yeah, exactly. I got very close to Syria. I got less than a mile away. So when I was in Israel, I went all the way to the border, saw into Syria,
All right.
but never stepped foot into the country. But seeing it from Israel's side, that was an experience in itself. I met two Dutch guys. We did a road trip through the northern and west bank of Israel, and near the border, there's a road, and on either side of you, there are signs that say, "Do not walk past this fence. This is an active landmine." So it's just a field. I mean, it's quite far of landmines. So it just driving
For
they
what?
that.
For what are those
I think
landmines?
it's border control, border safety. So way back,
That's
when
Israel,
was,
right?
So Israel had this. They went to war quite quickly with there was the Syrian War, I think it was called, where the Syrians infiltrated their country. The Israeli army reacted quick enough to fight them off. So that was the hill we went to, and then did the drive through, and just seeing that. I think it's just their insurance, right? Every country has some sort of border control, some more than others, but that was their way to defend their borders.
So would it be possible that at one point in time you could actually participate in resolving all issues in the Middle East? Because you've seen more than probably any of them.
I think down the road, I would love to. I would like to get into politics. Absolutely.
You could share some best practice, right? Since you have seen so many countries, many cultures.
Right.
Oh, yeah. For those things, yeah, let me just call up my friend in, I don't know, Peru or whatever.
That's
Right.
what I would love to.
Bring some nice potatoes.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. Or bring some good ceviche from Peru. Let's all have a family dinner. No, I would love to get down the road, get into politics. I think it's important for the leader, the president of the United States, to have a very good global view, and that's one of the benefits of traveling the world. And yeah, sure, having friends. Exactly. I mean, if you can make phone calls and make stuff happen as well, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Could potentially resolve a lot of stuff. Absolutely.
Actually, it sounds quite even good when you say that actually the president would be almost required to have some sense of foreign experience, right? That they lived many, they have seen and been into many places, lived abroad.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good actually.
One of my favorite questions to other travelers that I always ask is A, what's your favorite thing about your country? And B, what would you change about your country if there's anything you could? What number one thing?
Yep.
So for me, United States, I love the pride that our citizens have. We truly, truly love our country, right? Everyone loves to wear stars and stripes. You know, when
All
you,
300 plus
all
immigrants.
Yes. Well, yeah, but
immigrants.
there's just when you meet someone from the United States, they love their country, and you can't say that. There's just a pride that they have when they say, I'm from the United States. Not everywhere is as boastful or as proud as being from their country. It's just that kind of runs in our blood.
But yeah, America has the full right to do that. I mean,
Right.
20th century was full on America badass.
Exactly. Now, the one thing that I would change about the United States is I wish it was a requirement for every U.S. citizen to live abroad for 3 months. 3 months anywhere in the world, go out, see the world.
Just go to what's called Cancun, Mexico.
Right. Right. Somebody would choose there, right? But I think if we had every citizen do that, it would resolve so many issues because so many of our citizens would be able to see just how good we have it. We have it so well. And it's mind-blowing to me some of the small stuff that people complain about when go to India, go to this country, that country. If once you go into a slum, go to South Africa. When you see kids or families that have virtually nothing, and still have a smile on their face and invite you as a traveler, a complete stranger, into their home and share with you the very small things that they have, that is the most humbling thing you'll ever go through, and it'll make you never complain about what life is like in the United States. Big time.
Well, at one point in time, it still creeps back.
Yeah, it would. Right?
You would need to refresh every, let's say, 2 or 3 years that you go abroad.
True.
I guess.
Right.
Because I had a podcast recently with I'm not sure how to actually introduce her. Basically, a South Korean chick who lives and wants to continue to live in America. Right. So and she was, on the air she was fairly polite, speaking just on let's say broad topics in a fairly easy manner, right? But off air, she got totally off the rails with political correctness in America, because she hated so many things about the PC culture, what she called, and then I said to her, look, and I basically told her what you told just now. Look, Americans are probably the most wealthiest nation in the world. It's just so easy to start complaining about just some details when it's really not that important, because you don't have anything else about what you could complain about.
Exactly.
Right? And she asked me, what is the situation in Latvia about this and that? And I said, we struggle too much to be bothered by those things.
Right.
It's just that, and we spoke about average salaries and all different things, and I told her, right, if you in America have let's say $12,000 in a year, that's below the poverty line, right? And I told her, if you have that in Latvia, you are the upper middle class, right? So what are we talking about, right?
Right.
Yeah. But then again, I told her, look, but still, if you count all those things, still, it seems to me the 21st century is up for grabs for anybody, because the technology and communication that's possible nowadays, it just allows to be actually anywhere and still have the sense of comfort that's almost unprecedented anywhere.
Exactly.
And it seems to me that in those those Western nations that have old traditions and actually a long history of, let's say, government and capitalistic societies in general, they have sometimes quite big problems to actually adapt, to change, to improve, just because some other economic interests are at stake. So no, we will hold on with this until that, right? Whereas in Latvia, I told her, after the 90s, after the Soviet Union collapsed, everybody was just, let's get all things started, right? So that's why South Korea, I think, has the fastest internet in the world, but Latvia is up there in top 5 at least.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So it's just because we don't have that old infrastructure that has some stake in politics or whatever, and could actually make some problems in the process. So everybody's just, all right, let's get this thing going.
Yep.
And I guess now it should be more and more in those developing countries you visit, that once they have internet, once they have those communications and infrastructure, it's just that, all right, who's the hungriest?
Exactly. Right? Very true.
And then if that's the situation, Americans, because they are quite comfortable, right? It's just that at what point will that change? Because it seems to me
it depends on which way you're looking at it, though. Because I mean, when you say that, the first thought that comes to mind is Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, right? I mean, he's trying. One of the one of the initiatives they have is to create basically get Wi-Fi access everywhere.
Really?
Everywhere. Yeah. If
Sounds
I
good.
remember correctly, he wants to create drones that are powered by the sun that will then create a Wi-Fi signal wherever they're hovering above.
Oh,
Now the only problem is
sounds great.
we could get those everywhere, right? But what do you need? You need a device for that internet to work properly. So that was one of their things, is how can we get a proper cell phone or some sort of piece of technology for people to get the access. Yeah, because think about that. How many, if every corner of the world has Wi-Fi, if it's truly the World Wide Web, unreal. I mean, you'll have truly the world at your fingertips.
Yeah.
So
I think you would be the first person I would ask to do that.
yeah.
Yeah, can you manage that for me?
Sure,
Or-
yeah, let me get
let's
out.
let's get back in 5 years on this, right?
Perfect,
Right? Yeah. Let's see what happened. 'Cause, yeah, well, if that is the case, sounds pretty good. I mean, probably they have their own interests at heart,
Right.
when it comes to having all the Facebook users available, but still,
Right.
Wi-Fi all over the world.
Pretty wild.
Well, actually, what's the situation? If you travel so much, you probably can compare. All right, Wi-Fi there is great. There,
Oh man, worst continent was Africa. And
For sure.
I going into, I knew it would be. It was very, very rough to find good like Kenya was fine, but then I didn't get a solid Wi-Fi signal that consistently worked until I got down to South Africa. It was hit or miss. Now, if you buy a SIM card, those work as long as you're around major cities. But again, when you're out in the bush, watching rhinos, elephants, the last thing you need is cell phone service. You're there to enjoy the nature. So I kind of enjoyed it. It made you live in the moment.
What did you do watching rhinos? Was it a safari park?
Yes. So I did, when I was in Africa, I did a 59-day overland tour. And during that tour, I went to, I think it was 5 or 6 national parks. The world famous Serengeti, Etosha National Park, Chobe, in where was that? Botswana. So almost one per country. And what you do, you wake up before sunrise, wake up at 6 a.m. You hop in a 4x4 truck, and you're driving until you find animals. So it's like it's like hunting minus the guns, right? You're shooting with cameras. You're shooting pictures, not actually shooting the animals. And it's you're just driving around. I mean, there were times we went 2 to 3 hours without seeing anything, but it's the anticipation of that moment. What are you going to see? And I mean, we saw cheetahs hunting. We saw the big 5, right? So elephants, water buffalo, rhino, lions, and the jaguar within my first 10 days of being in Africa, which is pretty awesome. So we were very, very lucky with the game drives that we had.
Aren't jaguars in the jungle?
Or sorry, leopard.
So would you say that it was more interesting than just going to a zoo?
Absolutely.
Really?
Oh, for sure.
Why?
For sure.
Why?
Because you see them in their natural habitat. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been some cool zoos around the world.
Yeah.
But when you see the wild cat, like when you see the big cats, right, caged up, if you're lucky, you'll see them pacing back and forth, right?
Yeah.
In Africa, I saw cheetahs. I mean, at the full blown speed chase of wildebeest. Didn't kill it, missed the kill. But to see that cheetah open up and go as fast as it could, that's something you would never see in a zoo. Just hear the roar of a lion as it thought our truck got too close as he was eating a freshly killed prey. It is, what's different between a zoo and actually being in Africa is those animals can kill you. I mean, it is
Wait a second.
the wild.
You probably have some...
You have a guide. You have a guide with you.
With guns, right?
No. Some of the parks,
What?
they don't carry guns. And like you're not.
So
you're
what do they do when the lion attacks?
You don't get out. You're not allowed to get out of your car.
All right.
But I mean, if you're not an idiot, you'll be fine. But just like the volcano eruption, it's nature. It's totally unpredictable. You will never know. So like having that, does anything happen? Rarely, right? Rarely. But being there's a chance. You never know.
So
And in the zoo, I mean, yeah, we had Harambe, the gorilla, but that was because the kid fell in the cage, right? I mean, that's the only headline that zoos make. So.
Wow. Oh, you mean America?
And yeah, I don't know if you heard. That was a few years ago.
I've heard the name,
Yeah. But the zoo's a good way to get up close and personal with a piece of glass in front of you. In Africa, you're gonna get close, but you can roll down that window and really have a crazy experience.
Have you seen the video where the Chinese zoo
Was that where that woman was snatched?
Yeah.
Oh man.
So that's for your nature right there.
There you go. That's
Right.
very similar, right? I mean, if you want to call that, that's
It was
that
a
was
zoo,
a zoo,
technically.
but they were driving
But,
through, and
yeah,
that's what Africa is like. And that woman should never have gotten out of her car.
Yeah,
Ever.
that's what I mean. I mean,
Exactly.
if you make some mistake, look, even in a zoo,
Yes.
things happen.
Yeah.
Because I really don't understand how it's even possible to allow people to go through in a sense that, oh yeah, yes, they probably won't get out of the car.
Probably
Should be
won't,
fine.
right? Yeah.
I mean, would it even be possible in America to have that kind of a zoo?
We
where a
we have
tiger can snatch
so
you?
we have. I'm trying to think if we have lions or tigers. We have.
'Cause that
There
sounds
are
just-
parks where you drive through, and they have wild animals in it now. But it's like giraffes, it's zebras, all those other. I don't know specific. I've never seen one where it's just lions that could do just like we saw in the video. So maybe somewhere in the U.S. But if it exists, I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So China was probably one of your biggest countries, right?
Yes. And so China was actually going to be it wasn't originally on my list, and it was going to be difficult for me. So like I said, Russia and China are the two toughest visas for us to get. Now, I met a really awesome girl when I was in Thailand named Grace from China. And she was encouraging me to go visit her, right? That's one of the best parts is everyone wants to show you their home country. I was like, it's too tough for me to get there this time. I mean, I'll get there before I die because I want to see the 7 wonders of the world. And that's when she told me, anybody, I'm pretty sure any country, you're able to have a 3 to 5 day stopover in any major city in China, visa free. It's visa on arrival, and I took advantage of that rule. So I went to Beijing, got to see the Great Wall, got to see the Forbidden City, had an amazing 3 days there, and it was awesome. I fell in love with China. So this was in January, this past January. I was freezing. It was so cold.
Really?
Just because so for my trip, I was playing the northern southern hemisphere of just having summer year round. It was a year of summer, so I had no warm clothes. And the day we went to hike the Great Wall, I met another friend who I made the day that I got in Beijing, and we went out. I was literally like shaking. Luckily found so we went to a very remote spot that no tourists go to. You have to hike 3 hours uphill to get to the top. And we started at like 4 a.m, this trek to get there. And luckily we had to go through a small town, and we asked this man if he would let us hop in there just to warm up. And I don't know if I would have finished that hike if it wasn't for that guy. I mean, it was that cold, and I just did not have the proper clothing. But other than that, yeah, China was amazing. Everyone was so friendly in Beijing. I would love to go back, see Shanghai. And I mean, there's that country. China is very similar to Brazil, even the United States, where they're massive. And seeing one city, sure, it gives you a snapshot of what it's like, but there's so many. Each city has its own thing, right? And so I would hope to get back sooner rather than later. And side note, I don't know, hopefully travelers listen to this. I was flying from Dubai to Beijing to Hong Kong, right? So that stopover was for 3 days. I had to convince the airline that the visa on arrival was a real thing. So any travelers listening, they might try to deny you to get on that flight, but it is true. You can show them on Google. They're like, we update the rules daily. The airline was wrong, almost made me miss this flight, and would have screwed up the back end of my trip. So it is a very legit thing. I mean, double check, make sure your country falls into the category. It's quite a few that do, but yeah, the airline tried to stop me, and luckily was able to get on. They stopped me, said I couldn't. Then they're like, finally, after an hour making phone calls to China back and forth, they're like, oh yeah, you're good, but we just gave your seat away, so the plane's full. It's like, are you serious? But it all worked out, just like it always does when you're traveling. Good things happen to good people, and it always works out the way it's supposed to. So, caught the flight, and the rest is history. So, yeah, China's amazing.
What was the last country you've been before Latvia?
So I flew in from Colombia, and that was my second time there. So I did on my big trip last year. I did 24 days there and saw a lot of the country: Medellin, Bogota, This time, I wanted to see the two spots that I missed that I really wanted to get to. One being the northernmost point of South America, which is all the way in the north of Colombia, very close to Venezuela, and it's the desert. And it's the desert right on the ocean. It is beautiful, absolutely stunning.
What do you mean?
So you have sand dunes, true desert sand dunes that flow into the ocean. I'll show you a photo. It's
well, we can just
yeah,
make it Google. Yeah.
Worth checking out.
So how do we call that?
So the name of it,
Colombia.
Yeah, if you do Colombia.
Colombian women.
Yeah, desert.
Desert.
North. So the actual point is called Punta Gallinas. So there you go. See the cactus? Up top.
Yeah.
The cactus. I mean, it's stunning.
Oh, this?
Absolutely stunning. Then here's on the sand dunes walking through with the ocean behind me. So the color contrast is stunning.
Well, yeah, it seems like a regular beach.
Yeah, it seems like a beach, but over here it's just kilometers of desert. The sand dune's massive.
All right.
I mean, so there's another view of it. It's a very, very cool spot, but it's not easy to get to.
Why don't they have any hotels over there?
It's so remote. It takes so long.
Put I don't know, railway, some highway.
They have a railway. I was shocked to see it, but it took. Let's see. It took one bus. We flew into Santa Marta. It took a 4-hour bus, and then it took a 3-hour 4x4 drive because the roads are horrible. Like there really aren't roads. You're driving through the desert, right? The drivers make their own way. Mm-hmm. Then that got us to our overnight stop. Then we took another 3-hour drive and then a 15-minute boat ride to get to this point. So it is very far away. I mean, if you're going to that when you get to Colombia, plan for at least 2, maybe 3 days to get there and back travel-wise. Not easy, but so worth it, and it is just. I'm so glad I went back to see it. It was worth a visit. The other city was Minca. So Colombia, there's a really good documentary on Netflix right now called
Narcos.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like beautiful Colombia, and it shows you just how diverse Colombia is geography-wise, right? So you have the deserts. There's 2 deserts in Colombia. You've got the wetlands. You've got the Amazon. You've got the mountains, which is where Minca is. And
sounds like Chile.
Very similar, except Chile does not have a rainforest.
I think they do.
Maybe they do. I just missed it. They have
something similar.
They might. We'll have to double check that because they have the mountains up north, and they have the desert, and then they also have Patagonia down south. So beautiful spots. But maybe I stand corrected.
So Chile. Cold rainforest. I'm not sure what that means. Southern Chile.
Cold rainforest. Interesting.
Because
that's not a spot that I saw. Maybe that was one of the spots that I flew over. So
Because what Chileans told me was basically you can see everything that the world has to offer in Chile. You just need to go either north or south. It's about
hours. Yeah, driving wise. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Not very cool. Huh. So yeah, missed that, but I guess I need to go back to Chile to see the rainforest. But so saw Minca, spent another night in Cartagena, which was fun catching up with some friends I'd made there, and then flew through New York to London to here. It was a nice full day of travel.
Have you ever thought of actually collecting some form of, well, not really modern folklore, but still, let's say you could take local anecdotes or at least conspiracy theories, because I think every region has their own beliefs about how the world works. Mm-hmm. It seems to me, at least. Right. Because many times I've met a lot of travelers, right? Then every once in a while it seems to me, they believe that the politicians do this and that, and everybody's out to get them or whatever. Right. So, and maybe sometimes it's even true because you'll be in Russia, you'll find out.
Exactly. I'm excited to see it, especially with all the Russian headlines you had in the U.S. I'm glad to get there to see it on my own. But
wouldn't it be so funny that it would turn out that Trump is the one man to actually create world peace?
Amazing
with Russia, with everybody else,
and North Korea as well. It's too bad. I was actually quite disappointed that meeting fell through. I would have. Yeah. Trump. I don't know. One side backed out. They were supposed to meet in Singapore, As of
on the 12th.
the last order, you might Google this because I'm pretty sure Trump is not going to be going anymore. There was a letter that he released publicly saying, "This is what we want done." XYZ.
Yeah, there was the letter, but after the letter, the North Koreans sent another letter, and then Trump, as far as I remember, told, "All right, we do it."
He is for sure going.
I mean, the show Last Week Tonight, right?
Okay, yeah.
I mean, they aired it basically.
Okay.
I thought, well, it was Sunday, so.
Okay. Well, okay, maybe things have changed since I last saw it.
Whatever. Let's just wait till next week.
If it happens, awesome. If not,
let's just wait till next week.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he could probably change his mind a few hours before.
Right.
So.
Right.
No, but the story went like, all right, at first canceled, then back on.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
And John Oliver just made fun of Trump because he sort of approved that the meeting should take place nevertheless because of the letter the North Koreans sent, right? And then afterwards, when journalists asked, his answer was, "Well, I haven't seen the letter actually." Right? So yeah, John Oliver made fun of that, right? You You make decisions before you even see anything?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I guess so. Why not? So speaking about politics,
yes.
Do you have a specific opinion about your president? Because I think everybody has.
So yes, so the when any person finds out I'm a U.S. citizen, I get two questions, especially from Texas. It's Trump and guns, right? That's always the first two things they want to talk about.
So you're a real Texas local.
I've been there for the last 9 years, not born and raised. So just wasn't born there, but got there as soon as I could. So I was raised in St. Louis, Missouri, which is right in the center of the country, the Midwest. And then I moved to Texas a week. I went to uni there. So basically studied there for 4 years and then started working for a few years after that before this trip started. But
so you would call yourself still a Missourian, right?
I consider Texas home. My license says Texas, so I consider myself.
But you don't have a particular accent.
Yeah, no.
That would be cool.
There's some guys that they got that East. Unfortunately, everyone from Texas doesn't speak like the movie Texans. You got to get out west or out east. I know. And another shocker.
Are you sure?
Not everyone rides a horse every day. It blows a lot of people's minds.
But still.
But I mean, there's a big Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin. There's big cities. It's truly the east and the west Texas, way far out. Where you got to set your watches back, 50 to 100 years to really get that thick Texas accent.
Because I honestly thought everybody speaks like Matthew McConaughey over there.
How much cooler would that be, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that would be something. Oh, yeah, you go to Texas, you'll find that and that. If today there's differences,
Exactly.
Well, Texas is a big state, right? Is it
Massive.
the biggest?
Only behind Alaska. So on the continental 48, yes, but if you include Alaska, then no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Massive.
Yeah, I would say. Well, what do people ask you about guns?
Kind of what we talked about earlier. Just how easy is it getting them? Why?
Does Texas have quite big problems? I don't think so, right?
No, we're the ones we're the state that loves guns.
Yeah,
everybody
but also
has a
order.
lot. True, very true. There was a shooting earlier this year or end of last year at a church in Texas, and that shocked a lot of people. But he was stopped by a citizen that had his concealed handgun. That shows, if guns are used properly, it can prevent stuff from or stop bad events from happening. But yeah, that's a thing. They always want to talk about those two subjects. So yeah.
Well, for instance, would a European ask you specifically about what to do about gun control? Because what do they know?
They don't get it. They don't understand it.
Why it's so easy?
Just why we want guns. Just why we want guns.
But it's in general the land of the free, right?
Right. No, exactly. I mean, it's the Second Amendment, and we love our Constitution and Bill of Rights, and it's one of those things. We have the right to do it. So yes, we can.
Was it the film? Was it the film Team America, that had the song that would be almost perfect for Texas? You know that?
I'm trying to think.
I think it was. America, fuck yeah!
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds spot on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think with the Europeans that I meet, even Australians that I meet, almost everybody from the rest of the world that don't have guns, part of their culture, is they don't understand why we want to own them. Guns can be fun if used in the right way. I come from a military family. My dad, my grandpa, and older brother have all either served, or my older brother is still currently serving in the military. So like, I was born into a family that guns are just part of life. That's not saying I don't respect them. Guns have to be respected, right?
How expensive are the either guns or the ammunition?
Um,
Because here over here you would need to be really really wealthy to
get one.
Well, I suppose maybe even to get one, but still to shoot. I mean, it's just so expensive.
Not a cheap sport, yeah. So you can buy a handgun, a pistol for $150, $200 US. Now ammunition, you're looking at a box of 20 to 50 rounds. Of price varies. Is probably, I would guess, maybe 16 to 20 bucks. I mean, it's quite cheap. It's not as expensive as you would think.
It sounds reasonable.
But then you'll have to pay to use the range, right? So if you're shotgun shooting, which my family, we go ski shooting. If you do that,
What's ski shooting?
So ski shooting is it's just like they do in the Olympics. So they're called clay pigeons. They're round clay discs that are shot in different directions depending on the course you're on, and it's just to practice your shotgun shooting.
Why is it called ski shooting?
Couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Because it sounds like biathlon.
Oh yeah.
That would be ski shooting.
True ski shooting. Skeet. SKEET. Skeet shooting.
Skeet
shooting. Yes. Yeah.
Like Lil Jon always.
Right. Skeet.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but not the same meaning.
Very different than Lil Jon.
Suppose so. All right. Yeah. So guns are part of the culture
for sure.
But yeah.
The Aussies that I was with, the Rita and Katie, the last 3 months, we always debated this. And Australia, their government said, we're getting rid of guns now. And overnight, they got rid of them, right? And so in the U.S., a lot of people are like, why aren't we doing this? Let's get rid of our guns. There's no way. I really can't see a way of that working. There's going to be so many people that want to keep their guns. Now, let's just say it's a perfect world, right? We get rid of all the guns. Who's going to keep their guns? Well, most likely the criminals who want to commit crimes with them, right?
Well, I guess the idea would be that the authorities, like police, the army,
they will keep them for sure. That throw them out. They're not part of this discussion, right? Because everywhere in the world, your military, your police, they all have guns. Now, what I think is different with Australia than North America is Australia doesn't really have any neighbors. They've got New Zealand, right? But they're kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? They're surrounded by ocean. With the United States, we've got Canada, who they really don't do guns, but we've got Central America, we got Mexico, and then Central America, where guns can be found quite easily, just like drugs. So if we wipe out our guns, anybody could still drop down to Mexico or somewhere in Central America and get them and bring them back. So I just, that's one of the reasons why I really don't see guns ever disappearing. It's just we're too far along where it's too ingrained in our culture. Now, that being said, I think there are some changes we should do. I don't see any need for anybody to own a 50 caliber machine gun. I mean, unless there's a major zombie attack, you really don't need one of those, right? And I think the mental health wise, I think there's some big changes that we need to do where we could see some very big improvements with gun violence we see in our country. So.
That was my guess, that actually the real debate is not about gun control, but actually the gun user control.
Exactly.
In the sense that you are a responsible person that is being allowed to use it for whatever reason possible, unless it harms others unnecessarily.
Right.
That's about it.
Exactly.
Right. So I guess I remember one professor from Canada, well, a Latvian sort of, immigrant. I don't know if he was born in Canada, but still basically also Latvian. Telling me about, America is problematic in that sense that they have different ideologies working or either conflicting with each other. So about guns, I would guess religious people would be also in the mix, right? Because he said, everywhere you go, every other topic is related to some big lobby or to some big interest groups who just, you wouldn't be able to find a consensus anywhere in the future. So I guess it's about time that you have a dude like Trump or yourself maybe.
Right.
Should just it would either polarizes to the extent that everybody could hate him or everybody could love him, or
Exactly.
it
I think
changes
whether you love or hate Trump, I think the good thing that he did was he shook up Washington D.C. and it was needed. We've had too many career politicians who get in there, and like you said, it causes too much divide. So yeah, it's definitely helped people rally on one thing, whether that's hate or love, right? And so it was nice. That's one thing that he did a good job of just shaking up the system, showing that anybody truly can win president of the United States.
And all over the world. That's
right.
That's been because many times, actually, when I talk to Americans as well, I tell them, look, I know maybe for American circumstances, he would be considered a buffoon, but when you look at the outside world, that's probably the most popular language world a state leader speaks. So authority, right? In the sense that unapologetic, and I told several people, look, you still can make fun of him every day. I mean, your TV is full of just jokes and sarcasm about him. Try that in Russia. Good luck.
No way.
Right? Yeah. Maybe 1-2 times, and your radio show, your TV show will be pulled.
Yep.
And you better leave the country.
Right.
Because that's what happens. I mean, you have every once in a while you have journalists or TV personalities who openly criticize the government. Yeah, somehow the contracts don't get extended. Somehow, something happens, and then they work in exile at one point. So yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy that you basically have America that's sort of at the frontier of modern innovation, and then you have all those different other countries that are just sort of always behind. And then you have this now new president who basically could speak to both types. Who could speak to innovators, and he could speak to all traditional style authoritarians. It's just so that would be the most probably universal use for that man, just to speak to everybody, and whether he agrees or not, just a different matter. Yeah, I guess because many times people really
he's
recognize
one of the reasons why he won is he's able to make his voice heard. Right, I think one of the biggest things that helped him was the media would not stop covering him.
Well, but that was mostly because they wanted to make fun of him.
Make fun of him, but it backfired, right?
Totally.
It backfired big time
totally.
Because let's be real. At the end of the day, it's a popularity vote, more or less. It's name recognition.
But wouldn't that mean that Hillary would have?
True. Won? I mean, true. Yeah, but if
Trump, I don't get your system. I don't get the electoral college or whatever.
Yeah, the electoral college.
I don't understand.
I can explain it to you, but we'll need another 20 minutes.
I just know it was a system based on the premise that
it's
people
not
had
true.
to go by horse somewhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of the main reasons Trump rose to the top was the media just consistently made fun of him, consistently said he's going to drop out, and it backfired, which allowed him to get way more votes than I think anybody expected, and eventually won presidency.
Protest vote.
So it's fascinating how I'm sure there'll be a documentary down the road on just how it all happened. If there's not one already.
Of course.
So it's very very interesting to follow that complete story.
Do you think that you will see some shifts? Let's say you have been abroad basically since 2016, right?
Yes.
Now, that was a time when Barack was still in office, right?
Correct. So I was back. I was there for the election, and then took off to travel the world. So it's
now you'll be returning at the end of the year.
This year, halfway through his term.
Do you expect some differences? I mean, I don't know, local or
something.
culture?
So, like I said, I love politics, right? It's been interesting being out of the country at this time and following the biggest issues going on. Growing up in St. Louis, I grew up. That's a major city, and there was inner city and county students all at the same high school, right? So white students and African American, black students at the school, and even back then there was a bit of divide, and I didn't understand that, right? I don't really see color. I don't care what your background is, as long as you're a cool person. We're friends,
Because I don't remember who I told that to, but we called them niggers all the time, and not to be offensive. It's just that in Latvia it was so exotic,
oh, really?
right? So nobody cared if it's a person from Africa or if it's a person from America.
It's all the same.
Everybody is either Chinese or niggers, right? Well,
Interesting.
it was that exotic factor, right? Because you didn't have that in the 90s. Nowadays, you could say, yeah, we are in the mix somehow.
Right.
Because many students come and even some families do actually start living in Latvia, right? But yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, every once in a while there's the debate about, let's say, immigrants or refugees,
Right.
and the almost universal consensus is, yeah, nobody will stay in Latvia. It's just that we are not too, let's say, attractive when it comes to economics, right? For people to say they want to go to Germany, Sweden,
Right.
those countries, right? So yeah, but basically when it comes to being sort of prejudiced towards other people in general, I always tell people, well, look, yeah, we don't have racism in the sense that, oh, your skin color is that, but we have, yeah, you come from that region, you are that stupid, or you come from that region and you are like that. And I told people, it's not related to race or skin color, it's related to just, different people have different cultures. So your stereotype, your cliche, is just based sometimes on observation. Now, whether or not that might change is up for debate, right? But I mean, look, we almost always considered, he's a gypsy, yeah, cover your pocket, right? In a sense. So, and I always tell people, it's not related to having, a superiority complex in a sense. It's just that, yeah, people are different all over the world. So you might as well be, friendly towards them, but expect that the jokes that they make or the comments they make, sometimes they are based on reality. So, every once in a while you get that sort of different feeling that nowadays everybody should be so correct in their manners. But then again, I've never seen that. I mean, people will be people whether you put them in one system or another system. So, yeah, most of the time it seems to me that, for instance, I guess in America it's a bit difficult simply because you had a documented history of slavery, whereas in Europe, we just had slavery. Yeah. White people enslaving other white people, some region enslaving other regions. Nobody really cared about what ethnicity they are. It's just that, the Germans or whatever, they just wanted some cheap labor. Yeah. Right? So we do have that history, right? But we don't associate it with having somebody thinking of themselves better. It's just that, we are more powerful than you. Yeah. So, and we can use you economically. So I would say that's the major difference, because nobody here is real racist. Yeah. It's just that, nobody had that sense of divide, right? Oh, it's skin color. Not really. Just historical events everywhere. I mean, if you think about it, Russians sent out in the 40s, I would say at least 60,000 Latvians, oppressed probably more than 200,000, but 60,000 people got pushed into, livestock train, what's it called?
Train.
A train piece where you basically would get cattle into to drive them on the railway, right? So people got pushed into those and drove to Siberia, right? Yeah, of course, many people died on their way. They didn't have any good conditions, not on the way there, not there, right? But you don't associate, Russians enslaving Latvians. It's just Russians being Russians, in a sense, aggressive, right? Bringing their political force. And it was the Soviet times, in a sense, right? But nobody is really now, for instance, if I meet a Russian, I don't really think,
a grudge.
Yeah, but then again, I know where he's coming from. If he's from Russia, if you speak to Russian people nowadays, there's Putin top, right? Which is sort of a little bit awkward, because you would imagine, dude, you have the internet, right? I mean, you can have a broader spectrum on things. You can have a bigger viewpoint on things, but they don't really care.
Do you know that, I'll find this out here in a week. Do they block certain websites in Russia just like in China?
I think so.
Do they? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, because that's one thing, right? They have a really, I don't know what to call it. Is it? I don't know. It's something centric, but what is the type of policy you make that basically focuses on your interests as a nation? Like, it's not egocentric, but it's still
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
some
it's like,
centric
okay.
policy. So
Yeah.
it means that, for instance, our generation and even younger people
Mhm.
in Russia don't speak English. They barely understand it, right? They just don't need it.
You're saying the younger, our generation. So when I go,
And younger,
okay.
yeah. I mean, it's
Interesting.
it's definitely not a given that you will be going there and find somebody
English
easy
speakers,
to
yeah.
speak English.
Because the
to.
Russians I've met outside the country speak English, but that would make sense that they've
Yeah.
been out of the country. and
All
gotta
those
go.
people from Russia who've gone abroad, even lived there, worked there, yeah, fine. I mean,
That's the
they
ones
have.
haven't yeah.
You speak to them as, let's say, Europeans, generally speaking, Europeans, right? But
Right.
from those who come from just Russia to Latvia, for instance, just for vacation,
Mm-hmm.
just it's really a shame when you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the whole world available, knowledge-wise, social-wise, but no, they keep it isolated,
Interesting.
right? And it seems to me it's sort of an ideologic thing,
Uh-huh.
in a sense that we don't need. Everybody is against us, so we need to be strong ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something similar, but you'll probably find out more about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll be living in it. Yeah, for a couple of weeks. So I expect it to be an eye-opening experience, just like many of the countries I've been to. So
Well, it's interesting that you have the prior experiences in different countries, because then you, at those certain instances, you will be able to find the best or most the most spot on questions, I guess, right? And then see from there.
Yep.
Well, what's coming afterwards,
Yeah.
and I would say, yeah, you will find it quite interesting, especially if you will be in the big cities, and I guess it should be warm, right, in the summer.
I hope
I'm
so.
not sure, honestly. I don't.
I
know.
just met a girl this morning from Moscow who said, because I was asking, because here's quite cold, especially compared to where I came
Well,
from
it's
in
just
Colombia.
this week.
But I was hoping that. She said it depends on the year. Last June and July, she's like, we had fall weather. We never had a true summer. It was cool the whole time. So time will tell. I hope it's perfect weather. Fingers crossed, because that'll make the World Cup that much better. But we'll see. Yeah. Not expecting it to be hot by any means. Not.
So what are your plans for 2019?
2019.
Do you
Great
have-
question. I haven't planned that. I haven't not booked that far ahead.
So-
So I'll most likely be back in the U.S. That's the plan. Most likely. We'll see.
And from there, just take over the world?
Yeah. Continue traveling. I've had the travel bug for a long time, and I will never be able just to stop. Right? I mean,
Are you sure?
I have. Oh,
Are you sure?
absolutely.
Look, you are not getting younger,
Right.
right? So at one point, I don't know.
No
You-
way.
Yeah, come on.
I'm just
man,
nah,
come on.
man. I tell
Unless
you what,
you use steroids,
I
or
will
something
be
like that.
traveling
Then
until
you'll
the
be the-
day that I die, and I have a
Then
perfect
you'll be
example.
the Russian PED user, just so you can make your travels.
I met a guy, a perfect example, and when I met this guy, I was like, I'm going to be you when I'm your age. I think he was 85 years old,
All right.
a German. Met him in the Serengeti. That was his I think it was 50th or 60th country he'd been to in his lifetime.
All right.
Older guy, still crushing it, still traveling, doing game drives in the Serengeti. Unbelievable. And like that guy was the perfect example of what I want to be.
But did you
when I get
know
much
anything
older.
about his past?
Oh, he'd been traveling his whole life. Yeah, he'd been traveling since he was very young.
So what did he do get to earn money?
Like traveling in a sense that, I mean, he was working most of the year. So another big difference between European countries and the U.S. is you're lucky in the U.S. if you get 3 weeks off a year, 3 weeks total. That's nothing. In Europe, it's what, 4, 5, 6. Some places will give you could take an entire month off. That would never, ever
in
happen.
Latvia, it's a whole month.
Yeah. The U.S., good luck ever finding that with a company, right? Because our culture, we work very hard, which is good. That helped us, rise to the top. But
you need to adjust.
But the
right?
work-life balance is very
You
different.
need to adjust,
So
yeah.
I think perfect world for me is if I can get linked up with a European country, get the holiday benefits like you have here, still get to travel throughout the year, and making a positive contribution to society, that would be perfect.
So what about the sponsorship you got from the was it Inspiration?
Inspire More, yes.
What?
Inspire More.
Inspire More.
Yes.
So what do they do?
So they're a positive news company on Facebook.
Positive news company.
So a lot of those
Damn.
feel-good, happy, viral videos you've seen, they most likely started them.
You mean like cats playing around or what?
Stuff like that, but it's less like, different athlete stories. They cover a lot of stuff. It's just their big goal, and the reason I partnered up with them was they agreed that there's too much negative news in the world, especially in the U.S. It does.
More.
The bad news makes the news.
Tell
True.
You that,
no, it's
right?
very true. Everyone, like, if there's a massacre, everybody wants to know, right? What happened? Come on, give us the details, full details. But it's nice to see positive news. It's nice to see good things happening that are making a massive difference as well. And so what Inspire More focuses on is sharing those positive stories about whatever they find. And it's a great Facebook page. They've got over 3 million followers now, so clearly it's working. And just continue to spread the good news around.
Do they make those inspirational quotes as well?
Are
they one of those?
What I think they do that. That's not a major focus of them, but yeah, I mean, anything positive, anything that can make you feel good, right? I mean, they most likely cover it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff on their page.
So your partnership with them ended this year?
That was January 25th, exactly.
So you would basically need either them or somebody else to just cover the next trip, right?
Oh, that would be great, right? Well, I don't mind self-funding it. So before I start traveling, like I said,
but it's somehow just more relaxing, right? If you have someone in the boat.
Oh, it's nice.
Eventually.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if I find another sponsor that would pay me to travel the rest of my life. I would 100% do it. Absolutely.
Well, it seems to me that your way of life should be really related to either political diplomacy or basically, international finance or business.
Right.
That's about it,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Actually, what did you do?
Where did you work? I was working at a global limestone mining company called Lawast. And so they're a Belgium-based company. I was working at the North America headquarters for 3 years. 2 years of 2 years of new business development, working with the sales team, and then 1 year supply chain before the selfies happened. But loved them, great group of people, fantastic company. Really enjoyed it. But when it was that or going to see the world, it was not a tough decision.
So do you have any sort of, I don't know, do you have any, not, I wouldn't say regrets, but do you have any alternatives that would have been quite interesting for you if you hadn't traveled all for these past 2 years? I mean, maybe
I don't think life can get much more exciting than this,
they
right?
would have promoted you, or you know what I mean.
Oh man, like, come on.
No, that's what I'm asking.
Potentially. I mean, realistically,
maybe
if I would have stuck there, I probably would have. I would have happily stayed there my whole life. But you know what I would have missed out on is seeing the world. There is nothing in my life that I missed out. There are no regrets that I have. I have lived one hell of an adventure. I've lived the dream of a lot of Americans, right? I mean, I've been able to go out and see the world and continue to do that for almost 2 years. That is what everybody sitting behind a cubicle desk in the U.S. dreams about doing. And a lot of them, but you know something, the big difference? A lot of them, all money this aside, they just don't have the balls to do it.
I'm sure.
Positive.
I'm sure. Because it sounds to me that you are describing almost the Dilbert comic.
No, I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of people who dream, if they could, they would love to get paid to travel the world. For sure. The younger generation, the millennials.
Don't you think it still has many, many inconveniences attached to it? I
mean, I'm not saying it's easy.
If you would have a teleportation...
Much easier. But
no doubt.
The travel that we do now, today, versus what they did 20, 30, even 40 years ago, we have it so easy. With our smartphones, with our planes, it is now is easier than ever to travel, see the world. We're very lucky in that sense. So yeah, I mean, when you compare it to then, I'm sure it'll get even better as time goes on and technology evolves. But yeah, but like you said, I totally agree. There have been some horrible days. I've been very, very sick a few times. Like, can't eat the last time I was super sick was just in Cuba. Was very sick for almost a week and just couldn't keep anything in my system. But all I had to do was walk out the front door, look where I am. You know, I got super sick in Morocco and I got super sick in Vietnam. I was sick in Ha Long Bay, which is one of the most beautiful spots in the world. and I don't let it stop me. I mean, I just remain positive no matter how bad of a situation. I'm still traveling the world, so it's not those details you remember. It's the moment you hopped on the kayak to go around the bay, or geez, go swimming with wild anacondas in the Amazon River. I mean, it's been phenomenal. Yes, there's been tough times, but I would do it again all over if someone gave me the money to do it.
What are your principles for food?
For food?
Yeah, because
in what sense?
In the sense that you go abroad, you don't know what they are eating locally.
Oh, I roll the dice. I love eating the
Really?
local food. Oh, hell yeah.
So tell me about it. What was a great experience and what was not so great?
Oh, man. Okay. So, great experience. I would say there's 4 meals in 4 different countries that come to mind. One would be the food in Lebanon. It was amazing. I don't care what you put in front of me there. It was fantastic. They have some of the best food in the world.
Some oily? Salty?
Oily hummus. Like they
seems that they get it right.
Yeah, it was very, very good. I would say the food I had in Paris, in France, very good. Never had blood sausage before then.
Wow.
Never had steak tartare. Loved them both.
Oh.
Would eat them again. Very, very nice. Also ceviche. So ceviche is a combination of raw fish, tomato, and lime juice. Started in Peru. You can find it all over South America.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Really, really good. I prefer, like, whether it's fish, shrimp, or octopus, I'll eat it all. I prefer a combination of the 3. And the last meal that I will never forget, and I dream about it because one summer between uni, I worked at a butcher shop, was a steak that I had in Argentina, specifically Salta, Argentina. Everyone says Argentina has the best steak in the world. Oh, they do. It was so, so good.
Wouldn't the Kobe region farmers disagree in Japan?
Yeah, I need to try. I haven't been there yet. I'm saving Japan for the Olympics in 2020, so I will definitely compare
Wait
those
a second,
two.
you are not planning to go to Japan until 2020?
2020, yeah. Saving it for the Olympics.
Really?
That's the plan right now, yeah.
That's an interesting strategy.
Hey, it's the host city, so why not? Why go there twice? Why not go there and knock it out while the Olympics
Because
are
maybe
going on?
Japanese people will be different when the Olympics roll around.
That's very true. Just like
just because of the Olympics, maybe
Right.
they will act
Right.
differently.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see. But
You want-
that's my plan with Japan right now.
You want to see the full beauty of the, I don't know, pixie culture or whatever they have, because they have sort of a interesting lifestyle many times. I
Mhm.
guess they
Very.
have that sense of we can imagine it, we can live it
Right.
in a way.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
then again, they sleep on bunk beds or whatever. It's just what?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So no, I definitely want to experience it. The plan right now is the Olympics. If someone pays for my way to go, I'll go sooner, no doubt. 2 things that come to mind that were the weirdest meals I had. They weren't disgusting, but I don't think many people would eat them. Would be one in Peru. They eat guinea pig. So
It probably tastes something like
It was like dark
quite
meat.
similar.
Exactly. It was like dark meat of the turkey, just a little bit greasier. But the only thing is, it's very expensive for a small mammal that hardly has any meat on it. So in my opinion, it wasn't worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the other one that a lot of people will never eat is found in the Philippines. It's called balut. So balut is a duck egg, and duck eggs hatch on the 21st day. It takes 21 days for them to fully form and come out as a baby duck. Well, what they do is on the 16th, 18th, or 20th day, they take these eggs and hard boil them. So when you open it up, you've got a baby duck fetus. It's dead, but you eat it, and it's a custom. It's a type of food they eat in the Philippines. I loved it. I didn't mind it at all. Tasted just like a hard-boiled egg. It's just the psychology of getting over a baby duck that's staring up at you.
But why would they need to have a fermented egg to boil? They just
It's just what they do. That's don't know the history behind it, but that's why they do it. Yeah,
but sounds silly, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah,
I mean, because
there's
we could just take some fermented chicken eggs,
right,
have the same,
hard boil it and make it.
but
You
yeah,
could,
we just don't.
but you don't do it.
We
no.
don't let a rooster in,
Yeah,
and that's about it.
yeah,
You have just an egg,
yeah. So they, oh man, you can find it everywhere street side in the Philippines.
and specifically fermented eggs.
Yeah,
I guess they're just too lazy to not allow the rooster to go into the coop.
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
They
probably
have the
something.
open side 24/7. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean, man. Because they probably have the same mating system as chickens, right?
I would assume
I would
so.
guess so.
I can't, yeah.
I guess so. It's a bird,
Right.
Yeah, about right. Yeah, well, listen, we can probably spend more than 3 hours just barely scratching the surface, right,
Yes.
with you. But anyways, I would guess the last questions I could ask would be around the topic of, well, how do we as an audience follow you?
Yes. So you can follow me on my personal accounts on Facebook. It's called Folan Finds. So FOLANFINDS.
I can just note that and afterwards
Yep.
write it in the description.
And then on my
can you
Instagram.
write it?
And then my Instagram is just at Brent Folan. So BRENTFOLAN. And I'm the only one on the planet Earth who has the name Brent Folan, unless they're one of the people that don't have Wi-Fi yet. But very unique name. My Instagram is a little more up to date than my Folan Finds. Folan Finds is about 3 months behind, where my Instagram account is only about. It should be up to date by next week. I want to have it the day of when I get to the World Cup.
Fallen Finds is Facebook?
Facebook, yes, exactly.
What about some vlogs?
It's all the vlogs. If you want to see that, they're all on the Inspire More page. That ended, but if you want to see those,
can you?
Yes.
Write the Inspire More.
So if you go to the Inspire More page and just search my name, all 50 plus episodes will pop up.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for being here. All right. See you maybe in the future.
Absolutely.
When you come around back to
Yes.
Latvia.
It sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, man.